Hello friends and welcome back to the studio. This is Dawn. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my go-to no-fail layout. Whenever I want to make a lot of cards quickly, this is the layout I turn to. And we're going to pair it with another no-fail technique, BETTERPRESS. So we're going to be using the cotton card panels in porcelain and the evergreen branches press plates here. And I like to call this layout the front and center because we are going to bring the focal point quite literally front and center. And this is a great layout for doing mass production. So I'm going to be including some tips here for doing mass production as well. And the first thing I'm going to do is trim down my panels here. So all of my focal panels are going to be 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So I've cut that piece of cardstock vertically at 4 inches, and then I'm going to take each of those halves and I'm going to turn them and cut them every 2 3/4 of an inch. Now this is going to give me 8 panels, and that means I can create 8 cards just from this one piece of cardstock here. Now, I'm not usually a huge fan of mass production. In fact, it's probably my least favorite thing to do. However, for the holidays, I do like to have a stash of holiday cards that I don't have to think about. It never fails. I need them quickly, and I don't have ones, or the only ones I have are specialty ones that I've created for somebody else. All right, so the beauty of the BETTERPRESS is that it itself is almost no fail. I'm going to take my platen here. I'm lining up the crosshairs with a cross section here on my grid mat. This is going to allow me to quickly and easily center my cardstock here on my platen. I can use the grid mat underneath along with the crosshairs that are on my platen itself. So here I've got it perfectly centered. I will take some washi tape. Now I like to just use a very low tack washi tape, and then I will stick it on and off of my shirt a couple of times to remove some of the tack there. And then I'm just going to tape the 4 corners. And this is where I'll put every single panel when I go to do my BETTERPRESSing. And now we can set up our plate. And the nice thing about this is that I only need to set this once if I'm going to do multiples. Even if I switch colors, I can clean it while it's on the platform there, and I'll only need to do this once. I'm determining where I want this to go. I want it to be centered. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it onto my chase here, and this is magnetic. So I'm going to make sure that I've got this nice and centered. I'm going to use those crosshairs, and I'm going to count the squares from the crosshair to the edge of the die, or I'm going to count the empty squares from the die out to the markings of the A2 card here. So all I have to do is make sure that we have the same number of squares that the die is covering at the top and the bottom, and then the same number of squares from the edge in. And now it's time to get our BETTERPRESS on. So I'm going to grab some ink here. I'm going to start with the Coastal BETTERPRESS ink. I am doing a little bit of mass production, but mine are going to be slightly different from each other because I get bored. I get bored with mass production, so I do want to switch it up some. And I'm going to do that in the form of swapping out color or my background treatment. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot and pounce to ink this up. It takes less than you guys think. Some areas you'll think that there is no ink because the lines on here are so fine and detailed that it can be hard to see the ink on there. But trust me, it's there. If you put too much ink, you're not going to get a very clean impression. So a light pivot and pounce, firm, but you're not smushing that pad. We're going to grab our Platinum 6 and we're going to run this through. Now this should go through pretty easily. You should feel a little bit of pressure, but it should not by any means be hard to crank through. We're going to go ahead and reveal our letterpress here using our BETTERPRESS, and oof, beautiful. I'm always amazed every single time. I still have not, it has not lost its excitement or luster for me, you guys. I still absolutely adore the BETTERPRESS. I'm always in awe with the results. And the best part is, since we've already got everything set up, we can just keep cranking these through. So I'm going to go ahead and slide my next piece right into place. My tape is still there in most of the spots, so I can just go ahead and put that in place, re-ink my plate, and then run it through again, and we've got another one. Perfect. Perfect every single time. And I'm going to make several more of these, and I'll have all of the colors and the supplies listed in the description box below. So now I have a nice little stack of focal points here that I can create my cards from. So now we can move on to our backgrounds. And for these cards, we're going to take the easy route, and we're going to use some pattern paper. So I have a few pads here from Honeybee Stamps. I've got their holiday wishes, their Make It Merry from last year. And then I've also got their winter wishes. Now you can just flip through your paper pads and find something that matches the colors that you've used here. In this Winter Wonder pad, these blues match the coastal that I used for a lot of these perfectly. So you can just kind of flip through. You can choose a contrasting color that will match if you want, or you can try to match the color exactly. Basically, you're just looking for something that's pleasing that will look good behind each of these. Now these grays in here are going to look great with the ones that I did here with the Honeybee Metallic Pigment Ink and Silver. These match beautifully. And likewise, the blues in here, like I mentioned, they match really well with that coastal ink. So I've got a couple of options here that I can pick from out of this pad. Ultimately, I chose this pattern here, and there's a matching version in the Holiday Wishes pad as well in the gray. So this is going to be beautiful. And I continued to flip through and pick a couple of other sheets for some other versions that I'm going to show you here later. And these pads are 6 by 8, so I'm able to get 2 cards out of each sheet here. So I'll just trim those in half at 4 1/4, and then trim off that extra 1/2 inch at the bottom for 5 1/2 inches. And then our focal panels are going to go right front and center, hence the name front and center. So creative. Okay, so I want to dress these up a little bit. So I've grabbed the Spellbinders Brushed Gold cardstock, and this is going to look great with both of these. I'm a huge fan of combining silver and gold, so this is just going to dress it up a little bit, and this is also going to look beautiful with the blue. I'm going to trim down mats to go under these. So we know that these are 2 3/4 by 4 inches. So I'm going to cut my mats 1/8 of an inch larger, and that's going to give me a 1/16 of an inch reveal all the way around. All right, so once these are cut, I can just start assembling. I'm going to use my glue press here to add some liquid adhesive to the back, and then we're just going to center this. Super easy. But again, it's going to add it's going to elevate it just a little bit, add a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of shine, you know, because it's the holidays. And simple doesn't have to be boring. Now to tie in that gold, we're going to add a little gold bow at the top here. I'm going to grab this DMC metallic thread, and I'm going to tie it into a tiny little bow. Now this part can be a little bit tedious. This thread is pretty thin, but I figure the rest of the card is so simple and so easy that the little bit of finicky bow tying here, I can deal with it. It's worth it in the end. So you just tie that little bow, pull your ends, and then we're going to use, again, our glue press to attach that. I just put down a very tiny dot of glue, just enough to hold the knot there in the bow. Now this is going to it's going to kind of ooze up around the knot and hold the bow not only in place, but hold the bow tied. I like to hold it down with the tip of my tweezers until it adheres, and then we're good to go. You don't have to worry about the glue showing because this glue does dry clear. I'm going to trim off the tails here, and we've got a cute little bow on top of our little sprig of pine there. Now you could totally leave this. Is it pine or is it spruce? Or is it something else? Is it fir? I don't know. What kind of pine is this, you guys? Help me out. Let me know in the comments if you know. All right, so now that both of those are done, we're going to go ahead and work on our sentiments. I'm going to use the Honeybees. This is the Mini Messages Holiday, I believe it is. Again, I'll have it linked below. We're going to use the stamp and the Mini Messages banner. These dies match all of the sentiments in this set as well as the other sets in this series perfectly. I've mentioned this before. Great series. Love it. Highly recommend it. All right, so I've picked up my sentiments, and I've got that same brushed gold cardstock here in my mini Misty, and we're going to heat emboss our sentiments in white onto it. And this is going to continue that gold throughout our design, but just in little hits. I love this specialty paper, and I love using it. I love using it in small quantities throughout the design. These clean and simple designs, they really rely heavily on a good color palette and making sure that everything that you add to the card serves a purpose. So it's not just gratuitously thrown in there. With clean and simple or minimalist designs, really each element should serve a purpose. So here, this is our sentiment, definitely serves a purpose, and it's going to keep the design very clean, very simple, and very focused. And then once we have both of these die cut, it's about time to start assembling and then add the finishing touches. Just like before, I'm going to use my glue press and to adhere these panels, when I want them to go edge to edge, so there's no border around this card, I'm going to stand the card up, fold end side down, and line up those edges of the cardstock and the card base first, and then press this into place. This way, if the paper is just a little off, I can trim the open end of the card and there's no harm, no foul. I'm going to adhere the focal panel here with a little foam tape. These are the thinner circle foam adhesives from Honeybee. Again, these will be linked in the video description. And then I don't always say it, but I do use my grid mat here a lot. So I'm making sure that my card is straight on the grid mat. That way, when I go to put down my focal panel here, I know that my sides are straight and I can get it on there without it being a little crooked. Although sometimes it's still a little crooked. I am human. My sentiments here, I've already put them onto the foam strips here from Honeybee as well. And then I'm just going to decide where to place each one. On the silver and gold one here, I placed the sentiment up a little bit higher. And then for the blue and gold card, I opted to place the sentiment just a little bit lower. Again, this is some of those little subtle differences. You can play around with where each of the elements are on your cards, but using that same basic layout makes this go super fast. And so now it's time for those finishing touches. And of course, we're going to put some gems on here because, well, I mean, do we really need a reason? Gems are always appropriate. So I pulled out the pearls and the gems. Ultimately, I decided on the gems. We're going to use the ones from the Winter Wonderland pack. I love these gems and these pearls that Honeybee puts out with each release. If you haven't ever checked these out, I highly recommend them. They're amazing. I chose the light blue shade of rhinestones here for this card, and then for the silver and gold card, I chose these silver rhinestones here from the Holiday Wishes pack. Now I still had a couple panels left over. You can see some of those cards off to the left there. So let's review all the cards I made using this same layout, just making a few changes to switch up the style a bit. This was perfect for me when it comes to mass production because, like I said, I get very bored creating the same card over and over. So here, even though these are basically the same card, the only real difference here is our color scheme. Everything else is the exact same formula, but we came out with two different but similar cards that are absolutely stunning. I love how elegant these are. Now, if you didn't want to use the specialty paper or you don't have specialty paper, here's a monochromatic version, just as cute. This time I turned that sprig there right side up and it kind of reminds me of like a little Christmas tree. Or if you like a little more contrast, here I took silver, red, and white. I love this color combo, and I think that this is just sweet, and it's not quite as fancy as the other two. Now, if the traditional route is your jam, then this works here as well. This time I used a corrugated craft little mat there, and then I added some gold and some red and some green pearls to this. Makes it look like ornaments on an actual Charlie Brown Christmas tree, and I love how this one turned out as well. Again, super versatile front and center layout. You can use it with any focal point and it will work. I really hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, that you picked up some tips. If so, don't forget to let me know in the comments and like this video. If you haven't already, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any of my future videos. As always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.